Miss PineCreek? Well, Frank Turek can explain.
He's exceedingly strong, but he's also tender. He's confident, but he's also humble. He's completely mission-oriented to give his life to save the world, but he's also loving.
Hey, man! This makes sense!
Dr. Ben Young is a sharp dresser. Look at this. He looks like he could play a character like one of the maybe not a CEO, but an executive at some law firm or some Fortune 500 company. Has even a nice little napkin in here. I mean this has to be, where are we at? 3214. This has to be $1,000 suit at least, right? Look at that. Nice hair. I mean, he's going to talk about various evidence for God, but I think just his appearance is good enough. I mean, if God is for him and against me, like, there you go. I guess maybe if I had a suit like that, I would look just as good. Oh, by the way, I'm still, my weight loss program started 17th of April. Lost over 8 pounds in 9 days, 8 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. Pound a day I'm averaging. And some of you have been contacting me and say at least one of you is doing the same thing. Consult your doctor first. I consulted my doctor, Yahweh. I said, Yahweh, if you don't want me to do this, speak now. I listened. He said, no, go ahead. So I'm doing 1,000 calories a day, 90% meat diet. Been feeling pretty good. Sometimes I apologize. Last live stream, I was a little grumpy, and my apologies for that. I will try my hardest not to be grumpy ever again. Togborn, you're first. Yes, you are. 10,000 pine points to you, Man Bear Pig. Second place for 5,000. Blaster Master 80, 1,000 pine points for you being here. Third, Stephen Burdess. You are as bad as the latest Batman movie. But I didn't walk out of the Batman movie, so you don't have to walk out here. You can stay. You're a turbo guy. Okay, let's listen to this pastor dazzle us with evidence for God. Now, if you're new here and you're a Christian and you like Ben Young, Dr. Ben Young, he's a doctor? Hang on a second. I think I have. Oh, yeah, here we go. Look at that. Dr. Ben Young is a writer and a pastor at Second Baptist Church, a diverse, multi-ethnic church with over 20,000 people attending weekly services online and on 6 campuses. Hang on a second. 20,000? How come you can't see my calculator? That is interesting. I have my calculator up. You guys can't see it. Let me do this. See if I can fool it. There we go. Okay. 20,000. Oops. 20,000 times average household income is, what is it, 60,000 now? Times 10% tithe. Whoa! If everybody tithed $120 million into his church every year. Okay, but we all know that not everybody tithes. We know that only 6% of professing Christians are true Christians. I saw that in the study once. So times 0.06. 7.2 million a year. I bet you that's close. I would not doubt that that's close. In fact, it's probably more than that. But that's not too bad. That's why you can afford the great suits. Now, some people say I'm being petty here, but born and raised in the... Hey, what? Myron, get rid of the calculator. Thank you. Born and raised in the Carolinas before moving to Texas in 1978, Young was educated at Baylor University, Southwestern Theological Seminary, and Bethel Theological Seminary in San Diego, having hosted nationally syndicated radio talk show for years. Really? and serving as a chaplain for the Houston Astros. Oh my goodness, the Houston Astros needed a chaplain? Dr. Young also enjoys surfing and practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Oh. So if you were to meet me in a dark alley, I would run. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
One small but large word. Romans 8:31 says, "What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?"
By the way, I got to say this as a prologue, if you think this is going to be boring. He gives, I think, one of the nicest summaries of the evidence for God that I've ever heard. Like, he did it in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and we're going to play it here. And I'm not being facetious. I'm not being sarcastic. He gives a nice summary. And I think he does a really good job here. And that's why I'm playing it.
Russell was against him. A lot of people in our culture are against God. They want to kick God out of schools, kick God out of our culture. Many people will say God doesn't exist. So
since whenever I give a live stream or a video on a specific pastor, there's going to be new people seeing this either now live or on the replay. So I got to be as nice as I can be. But I'll just let Christians know that this is a bit of a plot hole when you say that people are kicking God out of the schools, because most Christians believe God is omnipresent, right? God is everywhere. I don't think you can kick God out of a school. You can try, but God is stronger than a principle, right? So this whole idea of kicking God out of school, even if you're a Christian, you have a Christian son or daughter that goes to a particular school, doesn't Christ live within them? And they go to that school? So you can't kick God out of the school every time your children go to school. In a way, God's entering the school. You gotta, no, I'm not going to say that because that's rude.
there are a lot of things and forces that are against God. So what about God? Is there evidence, and what are some of the evidences for the existence of God and the Christian faith? Let's go to our beautiful, clear, magical, Wonder Woman board.
He calls this board Wonder Woman board. Now, this is another reason why I'm playing this video, because this board is awesome. It's transparent. It's like a window, and he has like these shapes on it. And just wait till you see this marker, this magic marker.
And let's look at some of the evidences for God's existence, as if he needs our help, but we'll do it anyway, okay?
God, as if God needs our help, but we'll do it anyway. Isn't that interesting that he needs to say that? Like, does God really need anyone's help to provide evidence that he exists, is there, is interactive? I know Christians, a lot of atheists say this to you, that if the evidence was so good, you wouldn't need apologists. And there's a lot of truth in that.
Okay? So, first of all, you have...
Now look at that.
Scientific...
Look, I mean, that marker is so thick. It's lush. I mean, if this is not the ultimate ASMR, I don't know what is. It even has a little clicking sound every time he writes. To me, this is the best evidence for God right here. That beauty. That's amazing.
Scientific evidence. Starting with the Big Bang. Okay? The Big Bang is a scientific theory that believes that the universe had a definite beginning. Okay? For centuries, astronomers and physicists believe that the universe simply existed. It always existed. But in recent years, the last several decades, astronomers and others who study beginnings believe that the universe actually began.
Now, the Big Bang is the beginning of our reality. It has a time on it since it's started, but it says nothing to what caused it or prior to it. And where it came from, some say there was a singularity, actually most. So it's not like it came from nothing and was caused by nothing. See, this is kind of, like if you're a Christian listening, this is kind of what irks atheists like me, is because he doesn't tell you this.
Sounds kind of like Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the universe. And he created the universe ex nihilo, out of nothing.
Yeah, and there's even some Christians who disagree with that. They say in the beginning was God created the heavens and the earth. Some Christians will say that doesn't mean that it was out of nothing, but he might have took some pre-existent material and created the universe from it. I know they're by far the minority, but there are some Christians who believe that.
So the more recent Big Bang cosmology, as it's called, really comports with Genesis 1:1 and the very existence of God. And some of those findings are a little threatening to people. Like theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking said this. He said, many people do not like the idea that time has a beginning, probably because it smacks of divine intervention.
How does it smack of divine intervention if time has a beginning?
Look at what Nobel Prize winner Arno Penzias said. He said, the best data we have concerning the Big Bang, that means, how the universe began, are exactly what I would have predicted and if I had nothing to go on but the first 5 books of Moses and the Psalms and the Bible.
Yeah, Kip Davis in the live stream chat says ex nihilo is not in Genesis 1.
As a whole. So right off the bat, the Big Bang is incredible evidence for the existence of a God that created this world literally out of nothing.
Literally out of nothing. Not even science says that. Even when guys like Lawrence Krauss says that, uses the word nothing, he doesn't mean it in the sense I think he means it. He means it as net zero energy. But you'll have apologists like William Lane Craig admit that universes can be created through quantum fluctuations. So a quantum fluctuation is not nothing, right? But of course, he's not going to tell you this.
Also, you have, within science, you have what's known as the fine...
Oh, that pen, that marker.
...tuning of the universe. So check out this slide here of the cockpit of a Boeing 747. Look at that. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Look at all the dials and whistles and switches and flips, and the pilot and the co-pilot, has to figure out all those things to get the plane off the air, off the ground, up in the air, and land it safely. That's quite amazing, isn't it? I think it's amazing. We take, air, flight for granted. We shouldn't.
Every person's job is considered amazing by someone else who hasn't done it. Like even a plumber's job. I'm here to defend the blue collar workers over pilots of major airlines.
In an analogy, think how much more the universe has to be dialed in and calibrated and calculations to simply allow for the universe itself and biological life to exist.
Yeah, and this is a problem, I think, for theists, because I can ask very simple questions and you're going to answer yes. You have no choice. You have no free will. Christians like this, at least. Could God have changed the fundamental constants of the universe and still created life? Yes or no? You're going to say yes. Could God even create the fundamental constants of the universe, change them after the fact, and still have life thrive? If you believe God is omnipotent, you have to answer yes. So whatever God does with those dials does not matter. He can create life out of any position of those dials. Do you disagree, Christians? Now, some Christians will disagree with that. I seem to remember a couple of them admitting this, but I kind of suspect that they admit this because the fine-tuning argument goes away if they say, no, God has to do it this way. But then what you're doing is you're making God underneath these physical constants. God has to use these physical constants because there's no other way to do it. And there's very few Christians who are willing to go there, but some are, because they love the fine-tuning argument so much.
And to continue to exist. So the fine-tuning of the universe is yet another example of the evidence, or an argument, if you would, for the existence of God.
Okay, I want to play a clip from Richard Carrier. And I don't agree with everything Richard Carrier says, but on this issue, he has a nice little summary of the fine-tuning argument.
You take, for example, the fine-tuning argument. They'll just focus on that one thing. It's like, oh, look at how improbable this arrangement of constants, fundamental physical constants, has to be to get stars and planets and therefore life and so on. It's like, that just has to require design, intelligent design, I'd say. Now, okay, so let's say that's your theory. How do you disprove it? Let's say that's your theory and it is false. How would you disprove it? And so you get, well, okay, well, what else would cause that? Sort of random chance would cause that. That's one thing. So, well, how would I prove that it was random chance and not God, right? So you're like, how do you disprove your theory? And if you go looking around, eventually you're going to find some things. Like if you actually start putting evidence in that you've been leaving out. So, for example, what would if it was a chance accident, what would we expect? We would expect that the universe would really be extremely inhospitable to life. It would just be like just tiniest little bits to sort of randomly, accidentally support life, but most of it wouldn't. And that's what we observe. So you go out and you see like this, the universe is massive, billions of light years in size, billions of years old, and 99.99999% of it is a lethal radiation-filled vacuum. Life can't survive in that. If you look at all the matter, the actual stuff in the universe, 99.9999% of it is stars and black holes and dust clouds and stuff. They're all lethal to life. You can't live in a sun or a black hole or any of this stuff. So you're looking like there's almost, and then if you look at the tiny amount of matter in the universe that can actually have life on it, almost all of it doesn't. It still has inhospitable to life. And so that's what you would expect if it was random chance and not intelligent design.
Okay, so by the way, I have a video called Quick Answers for Common Apologetic Arguments, and this is from that. So it's only 27 minutes long, and it goes through 12 different common arguments, and I'll post that in the description later. But basically, like, really, you think that the universe is fine-tuned for life, and yet it's fine-tuned for only 0.0000001% of life in the universe? Like, really think about that. If you put this in human terms, there's absolutely no way we would call that a good fine-tuning for life. That's like having a house where you can only inhabit the house in 0.01% of the house. The other parts of the house either have no oxygen or flooded. You just can't live in that house. Would you say that house was fine-tuned for life? No, of course not.
I like what astrophysicist Hugh Ross says, and Hugh's spoken here many times. He says, unless the number of...
Isn't Hugh Ross the guy who says that you can tell demons are in a house by the color of paint? I think so.
Unless the number of electrons is equivalent to the number of protons to an accuracy of 1 part in 10 to the 37th power, it's a lot of zeros, or better, electromagnetic forces in the universe would have so overcome gravitational forces that galaxies, stars, and planets never would have formed. The fine-tuning of the universe is absolutely mind-boggling. Another way to look at this would be the intricacy of the design and how that design has been maintained. Here's what cosmologist and astronomer Edward Harrison said. Check out this quote. He said, the fine-tuning of the universe provides prima facie evidence of deistic design of God.
Yeah, design. And this gets back to the house analogy. No one here would say that a house designed for 1% of it for life is a good design. Nobody here would say that. So why do you say that with the universe? I mean, you have to be so selfish and inward focused about just our own planet Earth and ignore the whole universe around you to make such a ignorant statement?
Take your choice: blind chance that requires multitude of universes, or design that requires only one. So, the Big Bang Theory, the fine-tuning of the universe, are compelling scientific evidence for the existence of an all-knowing creator.
How did we get to all-knowing from this? I think this is the first time in this presentation he's mentioned the word all-knowing. So even if there is a God, and even if he did cause the Big Bang and fine-tune the universe, how do we get from that to all-knowing? Like, these are the little tiny details that I think if you're a Christian, you're sitting in a message like this, that you should think of.
God. Also, you have another form of, where's my pen?
Got to get that magic marker.
Of scientific evidence. It's going to be fun. It's called the irreducible complexity of biological systems. Okay? And what that simply means is that some systems within the human body and within nature are irreducibly complex. That means all the parts of that particular system have to be there at one time and be working to make that system go.
I don't really get this part, because in biological systems, they're still all made of atoms. Atoms are made up of neutrons, protons, and electrons. Then you can go even further than that. So yeah, you do have a base level, but it's way smaller than these biological things he's talking about.
Michael Behe was the one who coined this term. He's a biochemist, and here's how he describes irreducible complexity. He says, by this I mean a single system composed of several well-matched interacting parts that contribute to the basic function, wherein the removal of any of these parts causes the system to effectively cease to exist. So it's obvious through the existence of these complex systems.
It's obvious what?
That since the beginning of time, there is a transcendent and beyond our comprehension mind.
See, okay, Christians, do you hear this? He went from, we have these biological systems or molecules that are irreducibly complex, to now we have a transcendent mind. Like, I seriously need to, what's the link between those two things?
Who's responsible for everything that we see and we can't see. Design in the world cries out for a designer.
Except for the case of God, right? God is irreducibly complex. Does its existence cry out for an explanation?
I mean, if we would go up to West Texas and kind of go muddling around today, kick some dirt, and we saw an arrowhead, we're going to think that somebody at some time in some tribe designed that arrowhead for a particular purpose. Go do this. When you go home today,
hang on, Angela. Hang on. It's going to get better.
Get your laptop computer out and get a little small Phillips head screwdriver and take the back off of your laptop and look at it. Look at all the circuits and all the wires and all the chips and ask yourself the question, is the result of your laptop computer, is that a result of an intelligent designer?
Yes.
Or is it the result of some random explosion in a metal scrap yard in Sealy?
No, laptops are made from intelligent designers. Done.
Just as you're driving out of the worship service today, ask yourself another question. As you look around and you see all the beautiful homes on your right and your left, ask yourself the question, are all these homes the result of an intelligent designer or a creative architect?
Yeah, all homes are made from intelligent design.
Or are these homes, just
Some more intelligent than others, I must admit. Some houses are bad, some houses are better.
the result of some rogue tornado that wandered into the memorial villages, okay? It simply doesn't make sense. Chance and a whole lot of time doesn't have the being and the power to be that creative. It cannot account for how the universe started, the big...
Yeah, I think what the problem is, like your intuitions, I think Ben Young's intuitions are correct. It just doesn't make sense to him that if we see a house, it has a designer, and we see our earth, it must also have a designer. That's his intuition. But again, what I said earlier, he is being so inward and so ignorant about the entire universe and how most of it is inhospitable to life, that he's not looking at that right now. He's saying, no, I'm not listening to that. I'm not looking at that. I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about us, and look at us. And then also he's forgetting about millions of years of evolution, natural selection. I'm not even sure he believes in any of that.
Bang, it cannot account for the irreducible complexity, and it cannot account for the ongoing fine-tuning of the universe for life to exist in the first place.
Fine-tuning? Fine-tuning is not ongoing.
Intelligent design cries out is evidence of an intelligent designer.
Well, it could be evidence of a designer, I'll give you that, but maybe not an intelligent one. If a designer's purpose is to create a universe with life, then that designer sucked, was terrible for our universe. All you have to do is talk to an astronomer about how much life there is.
Now, don't panic, okay? We do not get this theoretical and philosophical every Sunday here at Second, okay?
This is interesting.
Everybody relax. We don't do that, okay? But I do think it's important. Do not get this theoretical and philosophical every Sunday here.
We don't get this theoretical and philosophical every Sunday. He's apologizing for this. You guys, isn't this amazing? He's apologizing to his congregation for talking about the fine-tuning argument, cosmological argument, the Big Bang. This is so interesting. But I know where he's coming from, because most people in his audience do not care. They just had these warm, tingly feelings of Jesus, and Jesus did this for them, and Jesus did that.
Here at Second, okay? Just everybody relax. We don't do that, okay? But I do think it's important. It's really important for us to understand, like I said, that we do have firm and deeply rooted intellectual traditions and scholarship within the Christian faith, not just in the last 100 years.
Why? Why? Why do you think it's important that you have intellectual traditions? The gospel is foolishness to those who are perishing. The Lord chooses the weak to shame the wise. Why are you striving for this intellectual tradition? You're going against God's will. I missed a few donations. Thank you, Mysterious Monolith. Imagine apologizing for apologetics. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Apologizing for apologetics.
Last 2,000 years. And it's important for us to know that, okay? So, let's go back to the board. Let's look at more evidence.
Put that marker to work.
We also have philosophical evidence.
No.
Okay? One would be the cosmological argument. Okay?
Aha.
So, what if we could take a field trip today, jump inside of a yellow school bus, get a little brown paper bag, go out those doors,
Because I'm not
get out, and look around outside. All right? And we look around outside, and we would see trees, we would see flowers and shrubs, we would see clouds, we would see maybe a little bit of the sun. I don't know, it's kind of cloudy today. We'd see all these things that exist. And it's by nature, we would ask ourselves the question, if we were in a more reflective mood, if we weren't so busy or had our heads buried in our cell phone, we would ask ourselves the question, why do these things exist?
Hey, give this guy a chance. There's a lot of atheists. I apologize to the Christians listening here. There's a lot of atheists in the live stream chat who are not even giving Ben Young a chance. Let's give him a chance. Hear him out.
Why does anything exist? Why does something exist rather than nothing? Okay.
That's a great question. And I don't think it can be answered. And I think if you're going to ask that question about the universe, why does it exist rather than nothing exist? I think you need to ask that same question about your God that you believe in. And then really think about what your answer is going to be. And then ask yourself, would I have any negative feelings towards an atheist who gives that same answer about the universe?
Why do these things exist? It's just a natural question we would ask ourselves. Now, imagine that nothing existed. Nothing. Just nothingness.
That's hard.
And we go outside and there's nothing. There's nothingness. Would nothingness need an explanation? Would nothingness need an explanation?
There'd be nothing to ask for an explanation.
Does it cry out for causation? Maybe you're thinking, did you have mushroom soup last night for dinner, Pastor? No, I didn't. No, to quote Billy Preston, nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Oh, I just realized something. He's wearing jeans? Okay, everything I said in my intro about how he's dressed, I take back. No. You're giving in to these young kids, Ben Young. Don't wear jeans. You got a nice suit jacket. If you're going to play the part, play it all the way. You got to wear the nice suit slacks. You got to wear the silk underwear. You got to go all the way.
Does not cry out for explanation. Okay? But things exist. Things exist. And when we go outside and we see the things that exist, all these things, the rocks, the flowers, the trees, the grass, all these things exist. And all these things that exist are contingent. And that word simply means they rely on something else for their existence. They're contingent things. That means there was a time in this world when all these things we can see on Earth and outside of Earth, these galaxies, there was a time when these things did not exist. So everything in the universe is created. Everything in the universe is contingent, dependent, and we know that they're dying down.
Oh, yeah, and that's by design. Don't forget that. So if you're right, God created the universe, just one, our reality, and he created it with a time limit. Finite.
We know that there's going to be a day where these things that we see in the universe do not exist. Some people believe that's going to happen in about 8.5 years. That's an AOC joke for those of you who watch the news. But we do know, thank you, we do know that things are winding down. If you don't believe that things are winding down, then look at your driver's license picture when you were 16 and look at it now. So all these things we see in the universe, including ourselves, we know that we are contingent beings. These are contingent things.
So he's admitting that the design of the universe winds down, and that as we age, we start to look ugly, old, decrepit. Not me, though.
So stay with me, right? Imagine, if you would, the circle. Imagine that everything that's ever been made, everything that ever existed in the universe exists inside the circle. And everything inside the circle are contingent. They're contingent things. They're dependent upon something else to exist. Everything inside this circle
That's a climate change joke. Okay, got it.
will one day cease to exist. We have to ask ourselves the question, what caused cosmology, cosmos, world, logos, reason, what's the reason for the existence of all of these things we see in the universe? Why are they here? Who made these things? How did they get there? So the answer either lies
Notice he said, who made these things instead of what?
inside the circle. They were self-created, which makes no sense whatsoever. Or the answer to how these things got there are outside of the circle. There has to be an ultimate cause that created everything in this universe that are contingent, fading things.
Okay, so let's imagine the circle is our universe, our reality with its laws and so forth, physical laws. Couldn't there be something outside our universe that caused the existence of our universe that's completely material? Maybe not in the sense of what we think of material, but still natural?
So, whatever made this universe with all these contingent things in it must be what? Uncreated, non-contingent, all-knowing.
There's that all-knowing part again. I kind of buy what he's saying the first two parts. Non-contingent, at least in relative to the stuff in the circle, but how do you get to all-knowing?
And unlimited in power.
And how do you get to unlimited in power? That's twice now that he's just thrown out these assertions.
That definition sounds a whole lot like God.
And maybe you said those things because you want it to sound like God.
So for years in the Western world, through Aristotle and Plato and Aquinas, believed in this cosmological philosophical argument for the existence of the universe.
He's getting his philosophy from Plato instead of Jesus.
And it was an evidence for the existence of God as the ultimate cause. Okay? So there's cosmological.
Okay, so this is something that his church members will probably never, ever get to hear, except for if they watch this review. This is philosopher Graham Oppie giving sort of the other side of the story.
Exactly what he means by begin to exist in this context. But let me give you a causal principle which...
This is both the cosmological argument and the contingency argument wrapped up into one.
I accept, which I think that he would probably accept. Two, which is that all non-initial items have causes. Right? Everything that's part of our reality has some antecedent causes, so long as it's non-initial. Obviously, if you just think about global causal reality, and you think they're initial items, they've got to have a different status. They can't have causes. That just falls out of what it means to be the sum total of causal reality. You can't have a cause. So it seems to me that a really...
Okay, so for those of you from Tuscaloosa, what he's saying is, that circle that pastor gave, everything in there has causes. It's contingent, has something created it, caused it. But in totality, the whole cosmos doesn't have a cause.
Plausible causal principle is that all non-initial items have causes, which captures both the idea that stuff doesn't just happen with no causes, but also captures the point, which seems to me undeniable, about the fact that global causal reality can't have a cause.
Some physicists, it's true, many I expect, think that time itself began about 15 billion years ago. Does that mean that there was some time before the universe began, when the cause of the universe, this person, was hanging around waiting to bring it about? No, it doesn't. All that it means is that at every time the universe existed, and there was no time before the universe existed. There was no time in which God could have acted. But let's suppose he's right about that. He's not, but let's suppose that he is. Does this mean that this being or this cause of the universe was a person? No, of course it doesn't. Dr. Craig gives two arguments for thinking it was a person. The first one is that it can't be physical, and the only non-physical things he knows of are abstract objects in human minds. It can't be an abstract object, therefore it was a human mind. Now this is based on a philosophical view that was popular in the 17th century, known as Cartesian dualism, which is the view that human minds are not physical objects and are not dependent in some sense on physical processes. And even if it was a person, why should we think that this very same being that created the universe then hung around doing nothing for 15 billion years and then suddenly starts parceling out real estate and impregnating virgins?
That was a bit of a low blow, but you get the point. Like, if you're going to be a pastor like this guy, Ben Young, and you're going to write Big Bang as a scientific piece of evidence for God, that our universe had a beginning, and then at the same time say that this God did absolutely nothing, just let the universe unwind for 15 billion plus years, and then decide to intervene and maybe lick his finger and help evolution do its thing, and then start handing out real estate to people like the Jews in the Old Testament, and then a little later on impregnating one virgin woman with himself. I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow. You really, if God designed the universe, created the universe, you would think he would just go, boop, here it is, with humans on it. Let's get this redemption thing going, right?
Evidence. Also, just when you think it couldn't get any more confusing, transcendental.
Oh my.
Uh-oh.
Transcendent.
Just pressure spelling up here, people. Okay. There's
Transcendental.
also transcendental evidence for the existence of God. And the transcendental argument is very compelling. I spent almost 7 to 9 years of my life studying it. I'm going to give a brief synopsis and then a resource.
If he spent 7 to 9 years of his life studying tag arguments, then what the heck is he doing with the scientific stuff? I mean, I know these guys. I know these tag guys. They're almost entirely presuppositional apologists. And most of them would not do what he's doing here with the magic marker.
Later. But the transcendental argument goes something like this, is that God is the necessary, provides for us the necessary preconditions for intelligibility. So without the existence of God, you can prove nothing in the universe. Without the existence of God, you can't use reason, you can't do science, you can't do math, you can't have art, you can't have language to communicate between two independent minds.
Okay, now if you're a Christian listening to this video and you've never been to my channel before and you think, yes, this guy, Ben Young, is right on it, I'm a presuppositional apologist myself, here's a challenge for you. Just replace God with the universe with what he says here.
Conditions for intelligibility. So without the existence of God, you can prove nothing in the universe. Without the existence of God, you can't use reason, you can't do science.
Without the existence of the universe, you can't use reason, you can't do science.
You can't do math, you can't have art, you can't have language to communicate between two independent minds. You have to assume and presume the existence of an all-knowing, all-powerful God.
You have to assume, you have to presume the existence of the universe.
That's given us the minds and the brains and the heart to comprehend reality. It's called the transcendental argument. There'll be more on that later. Don't panic. It's a really compelling argument giving evidences for the existence of God. The last one, I think most of
which is virtuously circular.
what's going to get here, it's the moral argument.
Oh, the moral argument.
Okay? And philosopher Immanuel Kant gave us an example of the moral argument for God, where he talked about the moral law within, that all people and all tribes and all nations have this sense of moral oughtness, of what's right and wrong. C.S. Lewis, in his groundbreaking book, Mere Christianity, talked about the Tao, that there's a sense of morality that's true for all persons and all cultures, that morality is not a social construct, it's something that's innate in us.
Yeah, chimpanzees have this too.
So if there are these moral laws and these moral absolutes that are objective for all people in all places all around the world, how do you account for this?
Yeah, how do you account for this? This is a favorite catchphrase of precepts.
The only way to account for the existence of objective moral laws is to have an objective moral law giver.
Yeah, who's famous for saying that? Oh yeah, Rabbi Zacharias. And I believe he's in hell today.
Who is God himself.
Oh, too soon?
So that's the moral argument.
Okay, let's give the other side of this story here. The moral argument.
Dr. Craig tells us that we need God if there are to be objective moral values. Now, there's two things I want to say about that very briefly. The first thing is that if there are any objective moral values, I know that murdering innocent people is wrong. I know that laying siege to a town and slaughtering all its inhabitants is wrong. That's why I think Srebrenica was wrong. If moral objective values come from the God that Dr. Craig believes in, then that's right. Just look in the book of Joshua. What does he say? Kill everybody except the whore who lives in that town and protected by messengers. So it looks like, if we do think objective moral values come from God, it looks like we should say Srebrenica was all right. In any case, what reason is there for thinking there are objective moral values? There must be a good argument for this. After all, there are no objective aesthetic values, quite plausibly, so Dr. Craig must give us an argument for saying there are objective moral ones. What is the argument? Well, it was striking, so I wrote it down. He said, there are objective moral values because deep down we know there are. That's it. That's the argument. Now, that may pass for an argument in Talbot Theological College. It may indeed pass for an argument in the White House. But, but this is Cambridge, and it doesn't pass for an argument here.
Oh, that just slices deep. What Christians say by objective morality, what they really mean is God morality. We know objective morality exists, therefore God exists. But what they really are saying is we know God morality exists, therefore God exists, which is not very powerful. It's basically tautology. And even if there is such thing as objective morality, that still doesn't mean a God is behind it or created it or is the grounding for it. Could be evolution. So we all evolved to have these innate instincts not to do certain things or to do certain things. But you're going to find that morality evolves over time, which makes me think morality isn't objective. I do think that if you put yourselves, every single atheist in here who complains about slavery in the Bible, I guarantee you, I'd put you in a time machine 3,000 years ago, you would not be complaining about slavery. You would not. Morality evolves. We have evolved out of slavery. Now, if you think there's this transcendent God who can sees the future and sees that slavery is objectively wrong, and yet tells nobody about that in the Old Testament, or just maybe gives a few special laws to help people deal with it, because you can't. God judges morality on a cultural curve, don't you know? You got to be gentle with people. You got to slowly push them in the right direction. I've heard Christians say this to me. It's ridiculous. If there's a God who's created objective morals, he should say, I don't care what you humans think. This is objectively wrong. Stop it. But you notice he never did that in the Old Testament with things like slavery. And you cannot, the moral law is so incredibly, the moral argument for God is so incredibly easy to debunk. Because you can say any action, any specific action that you see, and you say that is wrong. And I say, how do you know it's wrong? Because God says it's wrong. Oh, really? You know the mind of God in this specific instance, in this specific context. You know what God thinks about this. Yes. Okay. Someone putting a sword through the heart of an infant, a child. Moral or immoral? Immoral. Except if you take it back 3,000 years when Moses was commanded by God to kill the Canaanite children. Then it becomes or is moral, right? In order for you to say that something is objectively moral or immoral, you have to know the mind of God, whether he sanctioned it or not. How many people here know the mind of God in every specific case? So the point I'm making here is I do not care what the grounding or the ontology of morality is. If you don't have a reliable way to figure out what it is. Unless you have a direct phone line to the mind of God. Yeah, I got we got a situation here. Yeah. What do you think? Is it moral or immoral? Okay, thanks. You've been a great help. Like, that's basically what you need. Anyhow.
Okay. Also, there's some people today, kind of crazy. We live in crazy times, don't we? I feel like the entire Western world is on a psychotic break, but that's a whole nother message.
You know what's interesting to me?
There's some people today that are saying things.
How he's organized this. Scientific is at the bottom, then philosophical. He's put, I don't know if he did this on purpose, but he put the historical arguments at the very top.
It's like, well, Jesus Christ never existed. That Jesus is a myth. He never existed as a historical person. Christianity's true. It's blah, blah, blah. It's borrowed from the Egyptian mystery cults. It's just simply not accurate. So let me show you.
This is, okay, if you're a Christian, you're new here, this is what bothers me about pastors like this. No one cares I got to be careful. From a non-Christian point of view, from a atheist point of view, the idea of Jesus existing or not is irrelevant. Nobody cares. I know you as a Christian care because if Jesus didn't exist, then the Christ didn't exist. But the real issue here is Jesus could exist and not be the Christ. Jesus could exist and be the Christ. The real issue here is he the Christ? Is he God incarnate? Did he do miracles? Did he walk on water? So when pastors like Ben Young talk like this and push back against mythicism of a man, a fleshy man, that's not the real issue. Most of the planet, if you're a Christian and you're new here, please hear me. Most of the planet are Christ mythicists, meaning they do not believe that there was a guy named Jesus who did these miracles and rose from the dead. But they are not Jesus mythicists. They do believe there was a preacher 2,000 years ago who had a following. You've got to separate those two things. And so when you hear pastors like this talk about so-and-so mentioned Jesus and so-and-so mentioned Jesus in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, who cares? It's like someone saying so-and-so mentions Joseph Smith and so-and-so mentions Joseph Smith. That doesn't mean that Joseph Smith has anything to do with God or Jesus met him.
Here of some non-biblical sources outside of the Bible, outside of Scripture, that talk about Jesus Christ and talk about the Christian faith.
I remember when I was a Christian, I think this built my confidence. And now looking back, I'm going, how could I have been so stupid? To say that certain people, historians, talk about Jesus and it's not just in the Bible, that made me feel confident. But that should not have made me confident that what I believed about the core propositions of Christianity is true. Not for 1 second.
You have Greco-Roman sources. You have Thallus. You have Tacitus. You have Pliny. You have Suetonius, you have Celsus, you have Jewish sources, the Josephus and the Talmud. And from these non-biblical sources, here's what we can learn about Christ and Christianity. We know the name of Jesus. We know the time and place of his public ministry. We know his mother's name. We know his brother's name, James. More on him later. We know his fame as a teacher. We know that he was a miracle worker. We know.
No. See, these are the little details. We know he was a miracle worker. No, we know some people believed he was a miracle worker. Like when he says, we know he was a miracle worker, are you saying, Dr. Ben Young, Pastor Ben Young, that we know that he made the blind to see? Are you saying that? No, you're not saying that.
We know that his title was Messiah. We know that some said he was a king. We know the time and manner of his execution. We know the names of...
What? No. We know the time. When was Jesus crucified, Ben Young? Was it before noon or after noon? Depends what gospel you read.
The Roman and Jewish leaders involved in his trial. We know the coincidence, in quotes, of an eclipse in time that happened at the time of his crucifixion.
What? We know a coincidence of an eclipse at the time of the crucifixion? My goodness. You know why he's saying this? He's saying this because of Matthew 27, and it went dark for 3 hours all over the land. Eclipses do not last 3 hours. If that's the reason why he's saying this.
Fiction. We know of reports of his appearances after death. We know the flourishing of a movement that made Jesus the center of their worship, all from sources outside of La Biblia, outside of the Bible, okay? So the idea that Jesus Christ never existed as a historical person is simply erroneous, fallacious. It's simply not true. You can check out those sources.
And ironically, it so what? There's Joseph Smith existed. Like, imagine a Mormon telling people, no, he really did. Joseph Smith existed. Muhammad, he really existed. Honestly, he did. Christians, not for 1 second would you that doesn't mean Islam is true. That doesn't mean Mormonism is true. And this doesn't mean Christianity is true.
Many, many more. Now, in saying that, so you have these extra biblical sources or non-biblical sources. By the way, you guys can screenshot this later if you want to once I finish the
I got it all up here.
And then you have the New Testament documents themselves. So the New Testament, which is 27 books, Matthew through Revelation, are some of the most, I guess, historically accurate books from antiquity that we possess.
How do you gauge that? Like, do you line up all the things it gets right versus all the things it gets wrong compared to every other text in ancient history?
So even an atheist scholar of scripture like Bart Ehrman would use the New Testament as sources in his academic and scholarly research.
True.
Okay? So let me tell you why. Let's look at some other books throughout church history, okay?
Okay, now remember what he's talking about here. He's talking about historical accuracy, right?
Not church history, the history of mankind, Western world. Let's look at Homer, okay? He wrote in around 9th century BC. Earliest copy, we don't know. We have 643 copies of his works with 95% accuracy. Check out the works of Caesar. 1st century BC is when it was written. The earliest copy we have is 900 AD, which is about like a 900-year gap between the time the events happened and when it was written down. 10 copies, we don't know the accuracy. Tacitus, okay, Roman scholar, wrote in around 100 AD. We have the earliest copies would be 1100 AD, almost 1,000 years after the events. 20 copies, don't know the accuracy. The New Testament, check this out, was written in the 1st century between 50 and 100 AD, and that's being generous, okay? Right? I think it was written earlier. But the earliest copy we have is from the 2nd century in 130 AD, so there's only a 30-year time gap between the time it was written and the copies that we have. We have, listen, how many copies you guess? 5,000 copies of the New Testament. So the historical veracity and accuracy of the New Testament documents is absolutely compelling.
This is a very common mistake that pastors make, and Dr. Ben Young just made it. Did you catch the mistake? He's saying that the precision of documents, manuscripts against each other points to veracity, points to accuracy. That is false. You can have a fictional novel written even before the printing press, where you have 100 copies and each copy is identical to the copy prior to it. Does that mean this fictional novel is now non-fictional? I have a William Lane Craig quote here, and I'm wondering, is this the one? Let me see. Because if I say it, Christians are not going to listen to me. I got to have a Christian say this. Oh yeah, here, I think this is it.
So you see, that's not the same as saying that it's established with historical accuracy. Sometimes Christians make this mistake. It's just to say that we now know what 99% of the original words in the New Testament were, and that 1% that's still somewhat uncertain are just utter trivialities on which nothing hangs.
Yeah, so this is William Lane Craig saying Ben Young here has made a mistake.
We don't have the original documents. So how when we do...
So you see, that's not the...
Yeah, that's all, the whole quote. Ben Young, if you ever watch this, you got to admit this. You got to say this to your church. And by the way, I made a mistake in my last service. These manuscripts does not point to accuracy, it points to precision. And there's a big difference between the two.
Also, we don't have time to get into that, but we have incredible scholarship surrounding what we talked about last week, the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ. Dr. N.T. Wright, who's an eminent scholar from England, talks about how the resurrection of Christ is the only ultimate cause or has the explanatory power to show us how the New Testament church started in the first place. In other words, if it were not for the bodily resurrection of Christ and these early believers proclaiming that, then the New Testament church never could have gotten off the ground.
Never could have got off the ground. If Muhammad never went into a cave and heard from Gabriel, the angel sent from Allah, Islam could never have gotten off the ground. If it's not true that Yahweh appeared in front of the nation of Israel, Judaism could never have gotten off the ground. If Jesus and the angel Moroni never appeared before Joseph Smith, there's no way Mormonism could have got off the ground. Do you see how stupid this is? If you don't, just ask yourself this question. Imagine, if you would, Jesus Christ never rising from the dead bodily, and yet we have the New Testament exactly as we see it today. Explain that to me. This is a tough question for Christians to answer. But I think you can answer it, right? A lot of Christians will end up saying something like, oh, it was a massive, one of the biggest conspiracies in the world. Really? It takes a huge conspiracy to create the New Testament? No.
So the historical evidence for the resurrection is incredibly compelling. So if you want more,
if you want
more evidence, if you want in-depth.
If you order now, not only will include all these arguments, but we'll throw in a free set of Ginsu steak knives.
Study of these issues in science, philosophy, or history. unless they've changed their algorithms in the last 24 hours. You can Google, for science, you can Google Hugh Ross. For philosophy, oh yeah, do this. Do this on your way to work tomorrow or school. Stein versus Bahnsen. It's a debate on the existence of God, and Bahnsen uses the transcendental argument. It's incredibly great.
Incredibly great, yeah. Especially if you're a young male and you just like to win. Yeah, you just presuppose everything you believe is true and you're done.
And then for history, let's do Dr. Gary Habermas, who's one of the foremost scholars on the resurrection. So, again, I enjoy these issues. I really enjoy science and learning what discoveries are coming out of science every day. It's really fascinating to me. In many ways, we live in a incredibly fortunate time in history. And I love how many of the scientific discoveries that we're having today point to the existence and the evidence of God. I love philosophy. It's really interesting to me. Christianity has a deep, rich philosophical history that continues to challenge me. I love the fact that our faith is grounded in history. It's grounded in time-space history. We have great historical documents that...
Since he just incited Hugh Ross's name, I'm going to play a clip from Hugh Ross. I'm not sure if this is it. Thinker.
Okay, so what you've mentioned before and what you're saying right now is that those non-physical objects are coming to the sky. It's what people are seeing. If they're non-physical, and this is some type of demon UFO, if they're non-physical, how can people see them?
Well, okay. God has created species of intelligent life. And so I got a call from a couple and said, we just bought this home, and there's a room that's 10 degrees colder than all the other rooms, and there's knives and forks floating in midair in this room. And so they were concerned that there was a demon that was causing all this. I said, well, there has to be some article left behind by the previous owner.
Where does it say that in the Bible? Poltergeist? Did you get this from Poltergeist, Hugh Ross?
You need to find that article and destroy it.
And when you say destroy it, I'm assuming it has to be burned, right? Because that's what was in the Poltergeist movie or the Conjuring movie, whatever.
I said, well, wait a minute. How about if I just come over, we pray and ask the Lord to help us find? So there's got to be something, because I knew their life was...
So you're praying to God to help you find this leftover article. Why don't you just pray to God to remove the demon?
So I went into the room, and what I noticed was that there was a faint octagonal outline on one of the walls. And then I scratched a little bit of the paint. I asked them if I could do that, and discovered that the room was painted over. And the paint color underneath was midnight blue. He said, are you aware that midnight blue is a favored color for seances?
Midnight blue is the color of choice for people who do seances. So basically, and Ben Young here is telling his audience, I don't know, maybe this has no impact, but go look up Hugh Ross.
A great foundation for our beliefs. But out of all these things are very important. But this last block of evidence, I don't think it's more important necessarily, maybe, but it's equally...
Okay, hey, place your bets. What's in this box here? We got scientific evidence for God, philosophical evidence for God, historical evidence for God. What's in this last box? Can you guess?
Really important. And in my opinion, equally valid. When you ask the question, is there sufficient evidence, compelling evidence for the existence of God and specifically the veracity of the Christian faith?
Personal experience.
Experiential evidence.
I can feel God in my soul.
So that's great, right? You can scientifically prove, you can maybe logically prove, historically prove that there is a God, that Christ did come, he died, he rose again. That's great. But do you know him? Has God in Christ made an impact in your life?
See, I think it goes the opposite way. I think for most Christians, most Muslims, most Mormons, most of any religion, they have some need, they have a personal experience, they've been indoctrinated, and then they look at the evidence, the scientific, the historical, the philosophical, and they see what they want to see from that evidence based on their personal experiences. So Ben Young should have started there. But the problem with that is there are so many defeaters, there's so many reasons to think that your personal experiences should not be attributed to this God. I'll tell you why.
Changed the way you view the world? Has it changed the way you view others? Have you experienced him? That's a good question. We have to first look at these expert experiences, right? You've got to really consider the story of a public intellectual by the name of Paul. Paul, who was educated in the Ivy League schools of his time, the Oxfords and the Cambridge, he was a passionate leader who persecuted Christians, who threw them in prison, who had them executed. Something happened to him and turned his life completely around, and he went from being a persecutor of Christianity to being a proclaimer of the Christian truth. And he went around the Mediterranean world debating people, reasoning with people on the existence of God and on the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ. He gave us a lot of data through these letters he wrote that is compiled in the New Testament. How do you deal with his life change? How do you deal with the fact that he endured massive amounts of personal persecution and pain?
This does not make a dent. This does nothing. This matters nothing. And here's why. There are Muslims who say that their life's been radically changed. I got a video on my channel about a Muslim who used to be a druggie, addicted, found Islam, life completely changed. Voddie Baucham even admits this, that everything that Ben Young is saying right here is stupid and ridiculous when it comes to having strong evidence that your God is real, exists, interacts with his creation. Because you'll have these radical changes in other religions. Christians, if you think this doesn't happen, you have been living under a rock your whole life. If you think that people have not had radical changes in their life based on something false, that you deem false, you deem it false. So do I, but. So to think that Paul's transformation from a persecutor to a follower means anything, you need a wake-up call.
And beatings and stonings and whippings and imprisonment, and ultimately had his head chopped off by Nero because of his beliefs in God in Christ.
How do you know that? How do you know he had his head chopped off for those specific reasons? More importantly, how do you know that he had his head chopped off for seeing Jesus resurrected? You don't know that, do you?
Account for that? How do you account for James, the half-brother of Jesus, who believed that Jesus was the Messiah and the Son of God, and he gave his life for belief in that? I love my brothers Ed and Cliff, but they're not the Son of God. And it would take a lot of evidence and information to convince me of that.
Does James actually say in the first person that, hey, my brother is the Son of God and died and rose from the dead? How do you know that that's even true? I think if you look at the book of James, actually, I'm going to look at the book of James while he's talking.
I don't think you ever could convince me of that. Anyway, that's compelling. Expert. experiential testimony. Also, we have to look at human needs, right? Human needs. Think about, I mean.
See, this is so ridiculous. He's just taking it for granted that James believes exactly the way he believes, and it's his own brother. But if James, the brother of Jesus, actually wrote James, look what it says. James 1. James, a servant of God and Lord Jesus Christ. At least he identifies himself. To the 12 tribes scattered among the nations, trials and temptations, consider pure joys, blah, blah, blah. Believers take high position, blah, blah, blah. Blessed is the one who perseveres, blah, blah, blah. Don't be tempted, blah, blah, blah. Listening and doing, blah, 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 blah. Look at that. Nowhere here does he say that my brother is God incarnate and that he rose from the dead. Well, I could be wrong. Let's read on. James 2, favoritism forbidden, faith and deeds. Taming the tongue, 2 kinds of wisdom, submit yourselves to God, boasting about tomorrow. In fact, here's the one way you can do it, is let's go James 1 to the end. Oops, go back here, Control F for find. I could be wrong. I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. The word Jesus is found exactly twice in the book of James, and nowhere does it refer to Jesus as someone who is God incarnate and rose from the dead. Am I wrong? Am I missing something? So what Dr. Ben Young is doing here is he's saying that he's making assumptions that from what Paul says and what he's just always believed, what maybe the Roman Catholics have taught from early on.
Over the years, I've been in ministry for almost 30 years now. And I've met people from all over the world. I've met people from all different types of backgrounds. I've met people with all different types of problems and situations, and so many of them have said, since I started to believe in God and believe in Christ, I've never felt so loved and accepted before in my entire life.
Yeah. My goodness, this is so worthless and senseless and terrible. I'm sorry for being so straightforward here. But you'll find religions that you deem false, Ben Young, say the same thing. In fact, I have that here. Maybe not. Let me see. I thought I had it here. Yeah, here it is.
While I was laboring under the extreme difficulties caused by the contest of these parties of religionists, I was one day reading the Epistle of James, 1st chapter and 5th verse, which reads, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him."
The best way of finding truth is simply go to the origin of all truth and ask.
Please, who do I have to follow?
Scientology.
The Catholic Church.
To the Prophet Joseph Smith.
The Seventh-day Adventists.
Bang.
I started to have a very strong feeling of missing something and seeking something, and at the same time noticed.
I'm playing this because the pastor is saying that one of the evidence that God is out there, God is real, is that he meets the needs of people. He helps them.
Saying that he sees the world in a different way. It really had such a profound impact on me that I started to do a lot of reading, and very quickly reading about Judaism, the pieces started to fall together where I just felt like I had found my way home. I have a very short answer to people who ask me, why on earth would you want to convert, to Orthodox Judaism? And I say, because God told me to.
Having converted not once, but fully, this is the norm.
And a friend of mine who was praying for me at that moment said he sensed Mother Mary came to me, took pity on me, and asked her son to save me. And I knew after that that the cancer was gone, that I should sin no more. And shortly after that, I knew I was called to join the Catholic Church, a church
Are you listening, Protestants?
I'd never stepped foot in.
So we were doing a meditation, myself and 5 other friends, and all of a sudden I felt this explosion of energy go up my spine from the picture. And I said, "Who is that?" She goes, "Oh, that's Papa Jim. He's the most loving man I've ever met in my life." And so I knew that I had to find Jim Jones at People's Temple.
Finally, at one point, I surrendered. I said, "Okay, God, I want you. I want truth more than I want this book." And once I made that choice, I made that surrender, all the turmoil, all the struggle, everything lifted. I had no idea the cross. I really had no idea what Jesus Christ had done for me. No idea the plan of salvation. All I knew is I came face to face with God, and he told me this is what I had to do. And once I made...
You see how confident all these people are that they've had a personal experience of God? This is you, Ben Young. Now, again, I'm an atheist, so Christians won't listen to me, but here's a Christian, Voddie Baucham, describing these personal experiences.
And in this day and age, we really like this response because we believe that experience trumps all. You know, you can't argue with a person's experience. And so we'll say something like, well, I tried it and it changed my life. Good for you. That's awesome. You tried it and it changed your life. Because you're the only person who's ever tried anything and it's changed their life, right? And maybe he'll tell you a story. He'll tell you a story about a guy who was from the United States. He was born and raised in the Midwest, part of a large family. Mother had mental problems. Father was murdered when he was young. He ended up having to go to Boston to live with his oldest sister. But there when he was in Boston, he ran into a crowd that was quite unsavory. And having run into this crowd that was quite unsavory, he became quite unsavory. And before too long, he found himself in prison in Massachusetts. In prison in Massachusetts, there's some men who approached him about his need for his life to be changed. They approached him about this Messiah that he needed to meet and encounter and to whom he needed to bow the knee. But he couldn't. He simply could not until one night in his cell, he had a personal, vivid encounter with this Messiah. And he bowed the knee. His entire life changed. He became a model prisoner. Ended up getting out of prison early. Became one of the most famous preachers in the United States. There are streets named after him to this day. He was responsible personally for opening over 100 houses of worship. His name was Malcolm X. His Messiah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Okay. You got the point, right? Paul's experience on the Damascus Road, Paul's transformation means nothing, nothing, nothing to the truth of the attribution that Christians give. Because you can think of so many examples of a transformed, completely transformed life that has nothing to do with Christianity, nothing to do with Jesus. Christians, you make yourself look stupid when you give these types of arguments. And you know what's the scary part about this? Every Christian has these experiences in their life that they can think back upon, where they actually think that Jesus was near them and helped them in a situation. And guess what? You're almost definitely wrong. I'd even go on a limb. Even if I believed in God, I could go on a limb and say, God was not there. He was not behind that. No more than was God behind the changing of Malcolm X's life. What changes people's lives are other people and ideas and their surroundings that a God could have absolutely nothing to do with. So now that me telling you that your personal experience of God is probably not real, and I've gaslighted you to death, I'll open up the room to anybody who wants to call in. Let's see. I think that's it. Oh, I have to put the HT double hockey sticks thing in there, right? Otherwise it won't work. So let me do that. Okay, room's open. Sorry, Pastor Dr. Ben Young. He goes on to talk about a few more things. Summarizes. Gaslighted is not a real word. Yeah, gaslit. Actually, hang on. Let's see if that's true. Can you use lighted? I actually think it might be okay. Yeah, ha, I was right. You can't say gaslighted. Take that. Flag-waving, phony English person. I'm competing with who? Capturing Christianity or Canadian Catholic? You got to be more specific, proper FFP. I guess I can find out for myself. Sorry for the loud typing. He's not live. Oh, Robert Price is on. Okay. Carbon has 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons. I like that, Sean Kelly. Neutrons. To be more specific, Sean Kelly, most of carbon has 6 neutrons and 6 protons. All of them have 6 protons, but some of them have 7 neutrons and some of them has 8 neutrons. And when you average out all the isotopes, you get atomic mass weight of carbon of 12.011. I think that's right. Oh, Atheist Experience is live. This is the Atheist Inexperience. It's cheaper. This live stream is at a reduced rate. It's not the real thing. Actually, should we listen to the Atheist Experience? Should I mock those atheists? Anyone's still welcome to call in, but let me.
Like, is there some consensus position out there that says that says the opposite, or says something else? Is that what you mean?
Oh, okay, someone called in, so saved me from the Atheist Experience. Flamio, I'll give you 60 seconds. You got 60 seconds, Flamio. I know you want to tell a joke. Okay, tell your joke.
Let's go with the one. Yeah, do you know how to stop global warming?
How do you stop global warming?
You destroy the sun because that's causing 99.9% of global warming.
That's not a good joke.
But you laughed.
I laughed about how bad it was. Okay, give me one more.
I Oh, I need to laugh. I don't need to be good. I just need to laugh.
Okay, give me a better joke quickly.
Yahweh.
Okay, that was a pretty good joke. Okay, take care.
See ya.
Oh my goodness. Tell me a better joke. Yahweh. Okay, back to the atheist experience.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not saying there's a consensus against what Matt is saying, but there are scientists that have done. I'm talking about like neurophysiologists.
Oh no, no. Ugh, yucky, yucky, yucky. Who wants to listen to neurofib? If you're whoever's calling in talking about neurophysiologists or whatever, you better be wearing a lab coat. Because if you're not wearing a lab coat, you should shut up. You really want me to mock the ACX? Well, I already did on that one video, but yeah. Oh, Tangelo wants in. I gotta have a poll for a Tangelo. Should I let Otangelo in? Hey, Tux, we'll see you in a couple hours for poker, right? Paul Schlechter says let him in. Oh, you can vote. I'll just do a 30-second or 1-minute vote. We'll let the people decide, Otangelo. I know you're waiting. This is a popularity contest. Once we get up to 100 votes. And I see it, Kyle. I want to hear new arguments for the Shroud of Turin. No, you don't, Adam. It's actually closer than I thought. 55-45. Otangelo, you're still down, but you have hope. Once we get 100 votes, I'll make my decision. Oh, it's 52-48. You're catching up, Otangelo. We're at 90 votes. 10 more votes. If all 10 vote yes, you might have a chance. No, I think you're dead, Otangelo. I think you're dead. Unless you're going to claim election fraud, then we'll have to look into this. 51-49. Okay, that means Kyle is in. Hey, Kyle. I'm doing well.
Just calling real quick. I'm an atheist, so I won't take up too much of your time. I just couldn't handle you having a bad joke like the last two that Oflanio gave you.
Okay, you got a good one?
Yeah, so this wife has 5 kids.
Okay.
And the husband's super proud of it. He calls her a mother of 5. As a married man, you can guess the wife's not too thrilled with that. So one night they go to a party, and as they're about to leave, the husband calls out, "Are you ready to leave, mother of 5?" And the mother, finally fed up, says, "Yes, father of 2."
Ooh. Got it.
That's it.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, take care.
You do good work. Thank you.
And now Otangelo has 51% support, so I'm going to let him into my administration. Oh, your audio's horrible. We got Otangelo here calling in from the moon. Otangelo, can you hear me? We got a little bit of a delay and static problem.
Is it better now?
Yes, there you go.
Okay.
But what was that?
Yeah, so I was actually surprised that I won that I have more than 50%. So that's awesome. So thanks for all my fans.
Yeah, you must be lobbying. So here we got Otangelo calling in from where are you right now?
I'm in Aracaju, Brazil.
You're in Brazil right now. What's the name of the town?
Yeah, that's Aracaju.
Aracaju?
Yes.
Oh my, that's a weird name. Why can't you just name your town like Sydney? No.
Yeah, the city name is a combination of araras, which is parrots, and caju, which is cashew fruit. They eat parrots. They eat cashew fruits. So they made a combination of this, and what came out is Aracaju.
So do you have talking parrots in Brazil?
I have actually 2 parrots here at home. Yes.
And do they talk to you?
Well, no, they don't speak, but they
just listen to your arguments.
They have, yeah, they have their own language the whole day. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it'd be cool if someday they can give the fine-tuning argument for you, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I try to teach them so they can repeat it endlessly, and whoever passes at the street nearby can hear the argument.
How much does a parrot cost in Brazil to buy one?
Well, I got them for free.
You bought them for free? Sort of like Jesus.
No,
you got them for
them
free.
for free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Free gift.
Yeah.
Salvation. Okay, so we've talked many times before, so I would prefer you ask me or say something that we haven't talked about before. Can you do that?
Well, I was just trying to reference about the moral argument which you brought up here in the stream. I don't know if we had that assessment already, but I think these are pretty much worn out arguments which have been discussed and debated for decades already, right? So, I mean, I'm not bringing anything new on the table. So if that is concern for you, then we can talk about something else. That's up to you.
Yeah, I would prefer something new. But was there something about the moral argument that popped into your brain that I was talking about?
No, I think that you said, well, that we have to ask God what is right and what is wrong. And the argument is if objective morals exist, then God exists, and objective moral values exist, therefore God exists. That is very well known.
Okay, but how do you link objective morality to God?
Because there is a universal standard, and since it is nothing physical or evolution or something like that, which imprints that moral standard.
But how do you know
in our hearts.
How do you know it can't be purely like the law of gravity?
What has the law of gravity to do with morals?
Well, what if there's a law of morality that's purely physical?
Well, the law of gravity is purely physical.
Right.
But
what if morality is like that?
We are talking about morals. Morals, they are what? They are ought to be's. They are what you should do. And the question, of course, is where does that understanding come from, that we should do certain things and we shouldn't do some other things? Because I think molecules, they don't care about our sexual life.
Name something that we should always do. Or not do.
Love each other, killing,
really?
raping, and...
That's a bad example, in my opinion. There's certain people you should not love. Right?
I think that love overcomes evil, and Christ said that we should give the left.
No, but if someone raped your love, like Miss Piggy, you would not say we should love the rapist, should we?
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, poor Miss Piggy.
But I think that the golden rule given by Christ, if we all would follow it, then of course there would be no rapist, and we would have an excellent society.
Right, but we're talking about things you should do, like the oughts. I asked for an ought of something you should always do, and you said love, and I said no. There's clearly examples where you shouldn't love. What's an example of something that we should always not do?
Raping, killing, and torturing babies for fun.
Oh no, but the for fun is like the reason, right? But let's take the raping one. You said you can always come up with a moral dilemma where by raping someone you might actually be saving the world.
But you know, PineCreek, I say for fun. The argument is precisely strong when you say for fun, because then you cannot give an exemption. and then you have an absolute. You have
Right,
an
right. But it's the
objective
reason.
moral
But I know,
standard.
I agree with you, Otangelo, but what makes it wrong is not the actual act, it's the reason for the act, right? For
Well,
fun.
that's. I think that's not the main issue here. What is the argument is that this is a case where there is no exemption, where it is okay to behave in that manner. And as soon as you have that, you have actually an objective moral standard, and then you have to ask where does that come from?
Yeah, that's the thing. I agree with what you just said, but I do think we have evolved to this point. Like, I think when we were, I don't know, 500,000 years ago, before humans could even talk. Well, I know you don't believe any of this, but for people who believe we evolved, you think that males went up to females and said, hey, you want to go for a dinner and maybe a movie, and then a little later we'll go back to my place? No, I think 500,000 years ago, a male took a female, grabbed her, and boom, and enjoyed it. And nobody in the tribe thought anything wrong about it. It was the way the procreation happened. No wine, dinner, and dance. And so we've evolved out of that. So I would agree with you now, but all throughout history, I wouldn't agree with you.
But you see, PineCreek, how gullible you actually are in regards of what you just said.
Gullible.
Because you believe that gullible, yes. You believe gullible, right?
Gullible,
yeah. Gullible, yeah. So you see how gullible you are in regards of what you just said. I mean, you believe that based on blind faith. And I am incredulous towards the proposition that molecules ever would start to care about our sexual life.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think I brought up my point, and I hope that I gave some people some things to think about.
Okay. Well, why don't you go have some tea?
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye. Actually, my voice seems more to Marty the Martian than to Kermit the Frog.
Oh, yeah, but I like Kermit better.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a
So
good one.
See ya.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 50-50. Okay, we got to end the poll because he's already been here. Okay, now Travis, I love you, man. I love you. I know I don't love you. I like you. But you see how I interacted with Otangelo? We actually had it was fairly good conversation. Nobody's yelling at each other. It's possible. You can do it. You can have great conversations with frogs. Anything's possible in the magical kingdom. Diego, you're calling in again? Okay, you got something important to tell me, or you need a marriage advice?
I was listening to the how do you say, the review of the preach?
Review of the preacher, yeah.
Yeah. So what he's actually is saying, you have debunked is the word in some parts, right? Because the part when he says he's all knowing, that's the part where there's no sense, right?
Right. The linkage.
But, yeah, right. But the other part is actually possible, right?
Yeah, possible. Anything's possible.
It is probable for you, or it's less probable, or there's no idea to know?
I don't understand your question. Your accent's very thick. So
yeah, I understand. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, like he is the Kalam cosmological argument, something like that. He uses many arguments, right?
Right.
So when you use that argument, you say it is more probable or it is more possible that it is explanation. That's what I'm trying to say.
I still don't understand your question. The Kalam cosmological argument. What about it?
Yeah, sure. So let's say he's taking like a possible explanation for the universe, right? And
Right.
that's a God. Okay. I don't have a different explanation.
Okay.
You don't have us.
Yeah, no, I do.
What is the? All right. What is the other explanation?
The universe, the cosmos has always existed. Done.
The cosmos always existed.
So not just.
I mean.
So not just our reality, but all physical reality is eternal. If it's eternal, then it doesn't need a cause. Now, what that pastor was saying,
yes,
was that the Big Bang proves there is a beginning, and I say no, it doesn't. It just shows that's the beginning of our reality with its physical constants and so forth. But that doesn't say anything temporally prior to that.
Oh yeah, you're right. That could be actually possible. Awesome.
Yeah. So you don't need a God for that.
You don't need a God for that. Yeah, I guess you don't need a God for that. And in the second question about life, what do you say?
The second question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so sorry. What I'm trying to say is, okay, you have explanation about the cosmos. It's okay.
My explanation is it's necessary, and just like, a Christian would say, or a Muslim or a Jew would say that God is necessary. There's no reason why God exists. He just does. And I would say there's no reason why the cosmos exists. It just does.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's
simple.
That's solid.
And you don't have to come up with this new category of our new essence of existence called spiritualness. You just no.
Yeah, okay. Now, just last question. When you actually done that, because when you hear the young creationists, it has sense. If the Earth is actually 6,000 years old, that has sense. Maybe there's a God if the Earth is 6,000 years old. That's right. It's not possible, though.
Yeah, that's what they believe, but I think they're
I
wrong.
understand. Yeah. Now, how do you make the jump on the cosmos to the origin of life? Do you have any answer or not? Not yet.
Oh, I do think that that in our very early creation of the Earth, that we had a primordial soup, and that given the conditions we have shown that certain nucleotides can be formed, and so we still haven't figured that out. But
we still have no.
But I don't think we just jump to the conclusion. A designer made it.
We need a spiritual.
Yeah.
We can jump to the conclusion that we need something spiritual, right?
Right.
Yeah,
we don't need to do that, right? Okay, I'll let you go, Diego.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Diego. Okay, let's see if I can mock the atheist experience here.
Who have done experiments.
Part of the animal kingdom. There is no separation of a special form of primates, which we are, in the rest of the entirety of the animal kingdom. So but again, that's just looking at it from maybe my point of view, or coming at it from evolution, like you were talking about.
Yeah, well, I understand that, and you understand that, but I think we do what we do from evolution, and to say that we're sinners as humanity and animals aren't, yet they do the same things we do, is absurd to me.
What?
For 50 years, I was a believing Christian, and a few dozen times I went to church. I didn't go regularly, but, I believed it wholeheartedly. And then this last year, I spent 60, 70 hours a week studying religion and evolution. And
wait a minute, don't you have a job?
Wow. The atrocities in the Bible, it was enough for me not to believe it. And
well, you just found out about that now? What's wrong with you, James from South Carolina? And what's with the he, him? 99.5% of people have the traditional he, him. What? You want to normalize something that's not normal? Stop it.
And I just...
Just admit... I don't understand this whole idea that people want to be normalized. No, I want to be special. PineCreek is special. Don't normalize me.
Boggles my mind that all these theists out there that can ignore all this stuff.
Yeah. Tell us something we don't know. Room's open. I'm just waiting for someone to call in, killing time before poker. How long did you believe it? I believe what? You two punk? Christianity in general? I left Christianity, started the process at age 35. Oh, are you saying this because I was hard on that guy? Yeah. So I should be hard on myself? Is that what you're saying? Doug, you're stealing their content. Hey, I know the atheist experience. They're not like Bart Ehrman. They won't email me and say, take it down. Yeah, poker radically changed my life too. Nerdy wrote it. That means the poker gods are real. Is there any Christian pastors here? How do I lose half my weight in 2 weeks? Cut off both your legs, Joshua. I'm kidding. I hope you don't, but it would work. Hey, Joshua, I'm down over 8 pounds, between 8 and 9 pounds, in just over a week. Easy peasy. 1,000 calories a day. I haven't done a stitch of exercise. Once I get a little lower in weight, then I'll start exercising. It's about food, people. If you want to lose weight, it's about food. Food. Eat less of it and healthy of it. When I called Talk Heathen, forgot 2 of my pronouns, which were Master and His Majesty. Yeah, that's a good point. If your legs cause you to sin, then cut them off. 8 pounds, what is that in real measurements? Oh, I don't know. I should have done that too. Take measurements. Don't do keto. Oh, I love keto. I love it. Carbs are of the devil. I still eat a few carbs. If I was to guess, I probably eat definitely under 50 grams of carbs a day, but it's probably closer to 20. Hey, my one black friend. Hello, everyone. The Atheist Experience is the Creative Commons. Is in the Creative Commons. What does that mean? What's the Creative Commons? Is that something that we all have to pay a fee for? Like at a rental property? Yeah, there's an egg shortage though right now, Dominique, because of bird flu. Last time I went to Costco, they only had the brown eggs. And I'm racist, so I don't eat brown eggs. I'm a racist when it comes to eggs. But not when it comes to women. Come on. That's funny, right? Right? A Creative Commons license is one of several publicly copyrighted licenses that enable the free distribution of otherwise copyrighted work. Thank you, John, for that public service announcement. I understand. Well, I was just, with the Atheist Experience, I was just trying to find something interesting. Let me see here.
Full calls. And let me just explain for people who are tuning in who aren't familiar with the clock after
the clock?
getting lots and lots of feedback.
Too long.
On top of Mount Ebal, the Cursed Mountain. When
are they actually starting to time their guests? And like, yeah, I've been doing that. for a long time.
When Joshua went into the promised land, the Lord told him to curse from Ebal and then off the mountain.
Boring.
Minute on the clock. I'm going to not interrupt you. I'm going to let you go at it for 1 minute to show how this bracelet actually confirms the biblical stories in a way.
A bracelet confirming biblical stories.
Hey, are you going to answer my question or not?
Oh, what's the question?
Going to move on to somebody else, because if all you're going to do is tell me what you're convinced of, and when I get to the why part and ask questions, you avoided the question that's being asked. I asked you, if somebody found a piece of an item, does it matter whether or not that item points to something that somebody used to worship, as to whether or not that item confirms that that thing existed?
That's a clumsy way to ask a question, in my opinion. What would be a better way to ask that question? See, I didn't even understand.
Does it matter whether or not that item points to something that somebody used to worship, as to whether or not that item confirms that that thing existed?
Hey, look, the reason I called, I've heard.
Hey.
So another way to ask that question is, if I found a cross that used to belong to a Catholic, does that mean Catholicism is true? I think that's a better way to ask that question.
Hey, are you going to answer my question or not? I don't need you to tell me the reason you called, because I didn't ask you the reason you called. I asked you about the nature of evidence, the difference whether or not somebody worshipped that claim.
Well, are you an archaeologist? Do you know?
Okay, if you're not going to be honest, I keep avoiding the subject, so goodbye. Because I would hope that anybody who's an actual archaeologist would not be so boneheaded as to suggest that whether or not somebody worshipped somebody, I don't know. Archaeology is a weird thing for me, Justin. I don't know how often finding Noah's Ark everywhere all the time.
Right.
Time period.
Finkelstein, and when we look at biblical archaeology, we got.
You know, the thing is, like, I don't know what percentage, but a huge percentage of the people who call into this show are not the brightest. You could say the same about my show, but then the question is, how much time and effort do you put in to talking to someone who might be doxastically closed and maybe even incapable of understanding arguments and reasoning, embracing hypothetical arguments? Let's see, who do we got here? Oh, Peter. Hey, Peter.
Hey, doing?
Good. You're going to tell me about another miracle today, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh, no.
How are you feeling, though, with your diet?
Oh, pretty good, actually. There's a couple times where I've been pretty hungry.
And cranky?
And yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I got a couple concerns.
Okay.
One, what does God hate the most of?
What does God hate the most?
Yes.
Sin.
Correct.
I know, I'm correct.
Now, what does Doug love the most?
What does Doug love the most? Poker. Which is sin.
No.
Poker's my sin.
Doug, what do you encourage everybody to do?
Play poker.
Besides that?
Have coitus.
Doubt.
Oh, yeah, then doubt. So after you play poker and have coitus, you doubt. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my concern is that lately you've been doing all this. I know Jesus didn't rise. I know God doesn't exist. I'm concerned about your doubt. I want to raise your doubt level.
Okay, excellent. Let's do it.
No, I'm just asking you to. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just giving you a reminder that your standard is to doubt.
Well, is it wrong of me to say I know Jesus didn't rise from the dead?
Well, if you want to be, if you maximize your doubting, I would say so.
Well, I'm still open to the idea I'm wrong.
Okay,
But I know Jesus didn't rise from the dead. Do you know he did?
I believe he did. I have faith that he did.
But do you know he did?
Doug, I have faith that he did. I wouldn't allow myself to even answer that question negatively.
Okay, if 100% is you know he did, and 0% is you have no idea, where are you?
No, I have faith I did. It would be a sin for me even to entertain the thought. If a thought comes into doubt,
It's a sin to entertain the thought of what?
Of doubting.
It's a sin to doubt?
Yes.
Well, then I'm the most honorable person and God-fearing person because I don't doubt that Jesus Christ did not rise from the
Yes, but
dead.
I'm talking about your standard, not my standard.
Well, yeah, from your standard, I am a man
Yeah,
to
from
be
my
esteemed.
standard, yeah.
Because I don't doubt.
You're doing good from my standard, but from your standard, not so well.
I gotcha, Peter.
So you keep on doubting, Doug. You don't know we didn't rise.
Well, I know in the same way I know that when I drop this sticky notepad, it will fall.
Oh, darn it. Okay, I just wanted to encourage you to keep doubting.
I still, can I ask you a question though? Why is it a sin to doubt?
Believe in me. Jesus directly says, believe in me.
Yeah, but
I couldn't be more clear.
But God could exist and Jesus is not God, and Jesus is a fake, right?
This is my faith, Doug. This is what I know.
I know it's your faith, but if you say that it's a sin to doubt your faith, then you're stuck if you're wrong.
Yes, I am.
Oh boy. You're I mean, do you even value truth at this point? Because
well, of course I value truth. That's kind of a rude
well,
question.
no, if you're not
yes, a lot. It's kind of a rude thing to ask.
If you're not willing to change your mind,
that doesn't mean I don't value truth.
Sure it does.
It does not.
Yeah, it does. Uh-huh.
Depends on how you define truth, I suppose.
No, because if you value truth, you have to admit, I would think, that you don't currently possess it.
No, I don't think that's true. I disagree with that premise.
Okay, let's say I believe the earth is flat, and there's nothing that's going to change my mind, because I have faith that the earth is flat. I don't value truth because I'm not open to the idea that the earth is a sphere, right?
I'm not really sure to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't know really. I mean, I think faith is a different thing. It's a different kind of knowing and a different kind of claim to truth, really, right? At base, at heart. It's not, so I view it.
But you're willing, to me, it sounds like you're willing to sacrifice truth for faith.
Well, I disagree with that, but that's how you view it. I see why you would view it that way, but I don't view it.
Well, no, I'm saying Christianity could be true. And Jesus could be God. He could have rose from the dead. All that could be true. But if you're not even open to the idea to entertain the fact that it might be false, I'm making the claim that you don't value truth.
Well, I believe that Jesus is the truth.
I know you believe that, but if you think it's a sin to even doubt that, you're stuck, because it could be false and there's no way for you to get out.
And it could be true.
And it could be true.
It is true.
It is? Oh, you know it's true?
Doug, I just said it's my faith. I can't,
It's your faith. What does that mean?
I don't have any empirical evidence for you.
When you say it's your faith, what do you mean? It's instead of saying it's my faith, say it's my blank, fill in the blank. Don't use the word faith.
Well, faith, you can't.
There's not another word for faith?
No.
There's not a synonym?
It's an epistemology, Doug.
It is?
Yes.
It's how you know.
If you believe in God more and more, you learn more and more about God.
So when you use the word faith, you use it as a means to figure out what's true.
Correct.
And explain it. How does it work?
Well, I believe, for one good example, is I believe that the Bible is the Word of God. So I can go there to find truths about various subjects in my life, that kind of thing.
No, I'm talking about faith. Now you're saying Bible. Is faith in the Bible?
The faith is believing the Bible is the Word of God. That's part of the faith.
Okay, but what does that mean? Like, you just accept it and that's it?
I have faith that the Bible is the Word of God, if you know what I mean. I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm avoiding saying a belief because I think it's really fundamentally different than a belief.
Right, but if I was to ask you, why do you believe the Bible's God's word, you'd say by faith?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And if someone says, that by faith they believe the Quran is the word of God, would that be a reliable epistemology?
Well, not for them.
Oh, why not for them?
Because they don't believe the truth. Because they don't have faith.
No, they believe the truth by faith, that the Quran is the word of God.
Well, not my faith.
I know, it's their faith.
Or not the Christian faith, I should say.
Right. So what would you say that they have a good epistemology to believe that the Quran is the word of God by faith?
I would say they don't have faith, though.
No, they tell me they have faith.
They have a belief, but they don't have faith.
Okay, and what if they say that you have a belief and don't have faith? What would you say?
I would say that I disagree.
And if they say that they disagree with you, that they do have faith and it's not just a belief, then what we just done?
Well, people believe all kinds of things, Doug. I mean, there's a lot of, atheists. You got atheists. I think they're wrong. I mean,
so let me get this straight. When a Muslim uses faith to believe the Quran is the word of God,
I don't think they're using faith, Doug.
So is there any religion that uses faith other than Christianity?
I think there's one true faith. Let's put it that way. That maybe would be clarifying.
How do you know there's one true faith?
Because of my faith.
Oh my goodness. There's a guy named
but really, I just want to cut in on Matt Dillahunty. But
okay. You would love Greg Bonson and Van Til. But anyhow, what do you
Well, yes, I would, but I don't read them. I follow you.
Yeah, I'll do all the reading for you, which I don't do. Yeah. What did you want to say about Matt Dillahunty?
No, I just wanted to interrupt him.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to listen to him?
Yes.
You don't like him?
I don't. You know what? I shouldn't be that harsh.
Hang on. I just got a text from Yahweh. He said,
actually, I don't really. He doesn't really bother me that much. I rag on him though.
Yahweh just texted me. He said, "Faith is a horrible way to come to knowledge.
Oh.
Keep up the good work, Doug. See you at poker."
You better check that. Check who sent you that text.
You didn't know that God actually texted me, did you? Like, he likes me.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he loves you, Doug. He's waiting for you to come home, Doug.
No, he wants me to keep, like, he likes the competition. Like,
he likes to keep it interesting, that's for sure.
Like, if you were to go to heaven right now and look on God's bedroom wall, you'd see a chalkboard, and on the chalkboard on the top it says Yahweh, and then a line, and then PineCreek, and then he keeps score.
Does he?
Yeah, and right now I'm ahead. It's 7-5 for me.
Oh,
and,
good.
Yeah, so he has to catch up.
Is Michael on your side? That's what I want to know.
Michael?
Archangel Michael? Is he for you, against you?
He goes by Lucifer now.
Oh no, he doesn't.
And he's very pretty. He actually looks like.
Oh no, Doug.
What? He goes. His pronouns are he and him, but he looks like a woman. Do you give your pronouns when you go on social media?
Do I give my pronouns?
Yeah, like what's your pronouns?
What's my pronouns?
Yeah.
Are you talking about like transgender something or other?
Yeah, I'm just teasing you. Yeah, like when you go on some shows, they'll ask you, what's your pronouns? So if you ever call into Atheist Experience, they're going to ask you, what's your pronouns? And so you have to...
Is this having to do with the transgender thing?
Yeah, because we've got to normalize pronouns. So you got to say...
I go by like he for me and he for you. He for God.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just warning you. If you call in, they're going to ask for that.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to call in to that. No, I'm not.
Your pronouns could be faith and no faith. Or no. What would it be? Yeah. Mr. Faith.
Well,
I
think that's a base. I think that's believe in me is the command. So.
Yeah, but I could say believe in me. And what does that matter?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a whole bunch of experience.
Like if I told, but if I told you I'm God, You wouldn't believe me, but you believe it when someone else says it 2,000 years ago. You got to stop that. You got to stop that stinking thinking.
Down a garden path of torture, Doug?
Grab my hand, Peter. I'll walk you to the road to hell. There's no hell, Peter. Don't worry about that either. I know it.
I think there might be, Doug.
No.
I don't like to think about it myself, but
how much you want to bet?
I wouldn't take the chance myself.
How much you want to bet there's no hell?
I think that there's some kind of something, but I don't know for sure. I don't like to think about it, obviously. I mean,
why not? If hell exists,
I don't have to do it. It's not up to me. I'm supposed to love everybody.
You shouldn't shy away from thinking about it as a Christian, because if hell is real, I'm going there, and you should care, right?
Yeah, I do, but I think I have strong enough motivation for other people without worrying about the hell part.
Well, why do I need Jesus other than hell?
I think we've already discussed this, but it's comfort.
I don't need comfort.
You do, Doc.
No.
You all need.
You know what? Well, okay, I need comfort, but I don't need my comfort.
And peace.
You know what my comfort is? A good pillow.
Yeah, I love a good pillow.
Like a really good pillow and a nice meal, a nice hot shower. You
want to talk about food, Doc?
I'm good. I ate this morning. I'm good for the rest of the day. I'm like a lion who devours a gazelle, and I just lay in the shade and digest all day.
I made a really good meatloaf. I guess 2 nights ago with a big thing of mashed potatoes. It's so good.
Yeah,
you'd love it.
I haven't had mashed potatoes since the Clinton administration. No, I'm kidding. Anyhow, thanks for calling in, Peter.
All right, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah, have more faith.
Doubt more, Doug.
Who needs Jesus when you have a good pillow? Here's a good clip. Ugh. How do you know you have the true faith? By faith. I have faith that my faith is true by faith. Potatoes have carbs in it, man, bear pig. That's why I said that. But they're complex carbs, right? Are they complex? Or are they simple? Yeah, it's the doubt your doubts motto. I doubt my doubts, but I need markers. I need something that I can say that's tangible that would change my mind. Water soaked napkin. Someone with true faith, please call in. You mean besides Peter? He has true faith. He has true faith that he believes by faith, and he believes it can't be not true. So in that sense, he has true faith. See, but you notice, Peter, listening. You listen to me. If a Muslim says the exact same thing you said, you say, that's not faith. It's not true faith. When I say it, it is. You know what apologetic you're using, Peter? It's the na apologetic. Now, it's funny, but that's what you're doing. Do you think eternal hell can coexist with a loving God? No. This whole idea that you want to keep sinning and that's why there's a infinite punishment. No. Because this God could have chosen not to create. Apparently there's only one judgment day, but how can you be punished forever and ever for your sins if you got to be continually judged, so there's no one judgment day anymore. Why do you have to have to soak the napkin? That's cheating. Well, because I have high standards, Peter. I'm not like these weak Christians who need these feelings and coincidences. I need something demonstrable, something amazing.
I don't know, something amazing, I guess.
Yeah, to doubt Christianity is a sin, that's terrible. I could start a religion, I could start a cult tomorrow and make it a rule that if you doubt the cult, you're sinning and there's terrible consequences to that sin, so don't do it. You're in a cult, Peter. If you say doubting is a sin, you are in a cult. I'm surprised you're not wearing like a white robe or something and eating mushrooms. But I guess you do eat flesh and drink the blood of your Savior through communion. That sounds cultish, right? What separates creationists from evolutionists? I'd say about 50 IQ points. But done. Thank you, Dan Smith, for setting me up for that. I should start a cult today? Well, if I start a cult, my high priests will all look like Brad Pitt, George Clooney, because I have standards. You have one zit on your face, you're out. That's just how I roll. If you're under 5 feet tall, I mean, you can't even show your face. You got to be tall, well proportioned. If you have one leg longer than the other, get out. Get out. My high priests will be the best high priests. They will make Yahweh's high priest look ugly. And I'm open to female high priests too. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I am vain. I am an admirer of objective beauty. That's how I roll. So if you want to be my high priest as a woman, you got to look fine. Raquel Welch, fine. Sophia Loren, fine. Halle Berry, fine. If you are even an 8 out of 10 and you submit your application to be my high priestess, no. Don't insult me. And I take this from Yahweh. He's my, I got to admit, Yahweh's my role model in this area. He set the path that I'm walking on. Yeah, no, if you're a 3 out of a 10, if you're a 3 out of 10, Nerdy Rodent, you might get a job as cleaning the toilets of my high priests. There'll be no blood sacrifices in my cult. Will there be any type of sacrifice? Yes, there will be. You will sacrifice at least 8 hours a day to playing poker. Is there a person named Turk who wants to call in? Jamie, did Jamie leave and then come back and hear me talk about high priests and looks? Yeah, it's gone off the rails, but it's fun. Oh yeah, I liked Elizabeth Shue in her early film about the babysitter. In fact, I should make a rule right now. If you're going to call in, you have to be a 10 out of no, not a 9 or 10 in looks out of 10. Okay? Like, let's up the standards here. Like, no more Peters. I dare someone to call in who thinks they're either a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. And we will judge whether or not you have objective self appearance. Adventures in Babysitting. That's it, Jeff Goldblum. Hey, Jeff. Good to see you here. Did I see you on... Oh, no, I'm thinking of a different actor who was on Jimmy Kimmel. So I might not have as many viewers as the Atheist Experience, but let's change this, and at least let's have the best looking ones. Only the best looking theists can call in. Because, you know, this is a scientific fact, is more likely a good looking female will lead me to Christianity than an ugly male. That's just science. Like, do you think this guy here is going to lead me to Christianity?
Yeah, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. To me, this was flagrant.
Or this guy?
You can't help but smile like a little bitch.
Yeah, like, you think, no, that's not sexy. That's not good. Cameron is kind of... Sandals, you need a timeout. Yeah, you have to call in with a tuxedo. Are there any good-looking Christians or Muslims listening right now? We should have a atheist versus theist beauty contest. No, Jephthah's daughter. That has nothing to do with it. This has to do with ratings, right? Are you more likely to watch this guy? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Like, do you really want to look at this guy? Actually, let's do a better job here. Maybe I can become the Atheist Experience. Let's put the face over there. A little bit bigger. Now, let's see if I can guess what he's saying. How's that? I have no idea what he's saying. Now, if you want to call in, you gotta... Oh. Huh? Okay, call in. You get to talk to Matt Delahunty on my show. Hang on. I can't do it. Are you saying that atheist better looking than your atheist wife? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need an army of good looking atheists if the PineCreek theorem is true. And if your goal is to deconvert people, you should hire the best looking females and males to go out on the streets and do what Ray Comfort does, except in reverse. Yeah, Matt wasn't talking. That's rare. Good looks is something we have evolved to be more unconsciously drawn to. Yes, they've done kindergarten studies on this with teachers, an ugly teacher and a good-looking teacher. And the students will always say they've learned more from the good-looking one when they say exactly the same things. Life's not fair, but that's the truth. Yep, that's why models exist. Oh, someone wants to call in before the music stopped. Oh, I like this guy, I think. GB, are you there?
Hey.
Hey, I remember you.
Hey. So I've been trying to close out of Discord. I think we're all good now. Cool.
Oh, so you view yourself a 9 or 9 out of 10 in looks?
A 9 out of 10. God says I am a 10 out of 10, so I'm gonna go with 10.
Okay. Well, I tell you, you're not bad, but I wouldn't give you 10 out of 10. But what did you want to say?
Just see me after the resurrection. You and me meet up at the resurrection. We'll decide who's more handsome then. All right.
Oh, okay. Are you saying your body will be transformed better than mine?
It's gonna be glorious. That's all I know. But
That's
yeah,
what she said.
Okay. I had a really big revelation from a friend. Right, he's been an atheist for as long as I've known him. Honestly, maybe friend is a little too far. I'll go back with acquaintance. His name's Kent Hovind. Not really, but he goes online as Kent Hovind, right? He makes really good impersonations of him. We've had discussions about theology in the past, but he's been a hardcore atheist. Anyways, this is what he's converted, bro. He just straight up just told me 5 minutes ago, and then once I found out, Jerome and another one of your fans, he told me you were on. I had to come and talk to you because it might be something worth considering.
Okay, let me get this straight. You had an atheist friend named Ken Hovind. That's his online persona, and he became a Christian, and he called you 5 minutes ago.
As far as I know, to be fair, he said, I'm not any brand of Christianity you recognize, but that's what he said. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know his phone number?
I do not know his phone number.
Do you know any way to reach him?
Yes.
Okay, reach him right now.
Right now?
Right now.
Okay. I was thinking about asking him to come on here, honestly.
Yeah. That's okay.
Is that what you'd like me to do?
Yeah, right now. Find him online.
Okay, let me go find him.
Go on Discord, go on Facebook, whatever you need to do. I'll mute you while you do it, so there's no... Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Get him. Yeah, we're going to do a 3-way. Have you found him yet?
He's can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. He is on we're in the voice.
You're breaking up on me, but I need you to find him and get him on here. I'm going to deconvert him so he's only a Christian for 24 hours.
No, it's not going to work. He's been chasing this dragon for a while.
Okay, it doesn't matter, but you found him or not?
No, we asked him. We're asking him right now.
Okay.
Sorry, the whole room's asking him a bunch of questions because they're all kind of.
And is he in Discord or what?
Yeah, he's on Discord.
Okay. Give him this link. And I will ask him questions.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much, Doug. Appreciate that.
Well, you can stay on here. Let me know if did he reply to your Discord comment?
You got another guy. You got another fan here.
Because with Discord, you can see people typing.
Yeah, but we were talking in voice chat. We were talking one-on-one in there.
What's his real first name? Do you know?
No. I do not know that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start the music again. If he comes in the next 2 minutes,
okay.
I'll talk to him.
Okay.
Okay.
See ya. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
Yep. Sounds fishy to me. Do you know this person, Jerome? Too much smile, not enough smirk. Oh, you're talking about the other guy, not me, right? Yeah, I gotta get the numbers up. Hey, Bread of Life. Hey, Rebecca. If you view yourself a 9 or a 10 out of 10 of the looks, you're allowed to call in. This is Hot Day on the PineCreek channel. You can only call in if you're hot. Because I am like Yahweh. I have standards like Yahweh had for the high priests. No zits, no pimples, no back problems, limbs all coordinated. Hot Day Sunday. Rebecca, have I ever done the Flying Man with you? I don't think I have I? You can call in if you want. I'll stop the music. Are you saying Atangela's hot? Yes. Atangela, did you not see the picture I put up? I mean, when it comes to amphibians, Atangela's the best. I believe Grandpa can fly, remember? Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're boring. We're just waiting to see if Ken Hoven's going to call in. Come on, if you're really good looking, you're allowed to call in. No ugly call-ins today. I've done enough charity. Check Facebook. Okay. Yeah, I know you're the atheist of the month. Very good. What if Ken Hovind isn't good looking? Then I'll boot him. No flag waving phonies. Oh my goodness. What have I done?